hi everybody. Today we are talking to Mr. Nelson Braxton. We are very happy to have you as our endorser, Nelson. You're one of a kind. So you've worked with some really amazing Grammy-winning artists, and you also have your own thing going on with your brother, right? So the Braxton Brothers Band.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That,
tell me something about that.
see, well, let's see. Well, my group, the Braxton Brothers, is a contemporary jazz group. We've been around since about 1996.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we've done all of our own music. Started in my bedroom on a little production system. It was
Yeah.
all MIDI. We had a one of those old Akai, those Akai 12-track tape
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recorders. Yeah, there's a
Very popular.
guy gave me one of those because everybody was moving to ADATs, and he was like, "Come get this big thing out of my house." So we had it all set up, with a bunch of mixers that we found and got given and stuff, and that's how
Yeah.
we started in 1996. We had our first number one record um, off the record we made with that year in 1996, and I've been kind of rolling ever since.
Fantastic. And then so the Braxton Brothers is like a constant in your career, right? So it's been going
Uh,
on basically forever, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've been doing obviously a lot of other stuff during that, but we've always had that rolling, kind of at the same time. So it's been nice because I've had chance to work, with a bunch of other people and then be able to take that experience and put that into our own thing all at the same time, which has been great.
Yeah, definitely. Who are the like? I mean, there are many great artists you work with, but to name a few that you're like proud to be a part of.
Proud. Well, let's see. I mean, you know, I've been working obviously with Michael Bolton for the last 12 years, who is
Fantastic.
absolutely an icon,
Yeah.
and I've learned a lot about professionalism, work ethic,
Mm.
um, striving for perfection,
Yeah.
at all times. Because he's worked with, literally the greatest everything in every aspect of the business that there ever has been, from musicians to producers to
Yeah.
engineers.
Yeah.
He's worked with all of them. So basically, his ears are programmed to hear that sound that those
Mm.
people make all the time.
Mm.
So it basically requires you to strive for that level of excellence in what you do, no matter what that is. And it's, across the whole team, all the
Absolutely.
musicians, all the engineers that work for him, his ears are, all the way up here all the
Yeah.
time, and he hears everything. So it's been really good practice. It's helped my musicianship. And also when I sit down to do production, mixing, and all that sort of thing, it kind of gives you practice in putting on basically the excellence hat all the time. And it's been really good practice for that for me over the years. Um, but with other couple of people I've worked with, is a R&B singer named Lettucey, um, who's from my area. And we basically started the Braxton Brothers Band, and her band was basically the same band for
Uh,
many years. We all started, and we learned a lot from her. I mean, she's gone on to, she gets Grammy nominations every year, selling tons of records. She's like really gone on to be,
Amazing.
to show the world the amazing vocalist that she always was. But we
Amazing.
learned a lot about being kind of true to your music from
Yeah.
her,
Uh-huh.
because what she does now, she's always been her. And like what I see from her now and stuff, it's the same Lettucey, and she always was Lettucey, and she just kept doing it, and she kept at it and worked very, very hard. I mean, I don't even know if a lot of people know how hard she actually worked, before she became, really known. She was really working hard. So I think between her and Michael, I really had some good examples of, working hard.
Yeah.
Um, and to see the difference that it makes. If you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work, and you have to do it over a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
how long are you in the business?
I mean, I've been making my living as a professional musician since about 91. So this is like year about 27, 28 for me.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a real blessing to be,
Yeah,
be able to do this for this long.
yeah.
It's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what would be your advice? How do you actually get, from semi-pro or a hobbyist basically to a level when you can actually make a living being in music industry, in whatever, or playing bass guitars, or I mean, being a musician, or just like in production space? What does it actually take?
I'm trying to think. For me, um, it's been a lot of who you know, um, and a lot of just doing it. I mean, there's a famous bassist named Nathan East um, that told me one time. He said, "Nelson, the name of this game is staying in the game." And that's basically how he defined success, is basically staying in it. If you think of like, can you name anybody that's,
Yeah,
say, completed 15 albums that can't go do
yeah,
a gig?
yeah,
No, you know what I mean? But it's just the work of completing, those things over and over.
yeah.
And I think for me, I was going to school in San Francisco at San Francisco State University.
Okay.
And through somebody I met there, I started doing some gigs at night. I was actually studying to be a concert tuba player, and I was doing gigs at night on electric bass to kind of pay for school. And that's basically how my career started, just from people that I knew from back then. I was playing mainly salsa and merengue bands. That's what I did for a living. And you
So,
just keep doing it.
yeah,
Like I was working on music with my brother in the day. I was going to school, was playing at night, and you basically just keep out there, keep out there, keep out there,
yeah,
keep playing music,
keep
keep
pushing. Yeah.
growing, keep learning. And that's the thing. It's like the people that keep doing it, they always seem to find a way to to have a future, but you have to keep at it.
Yeah, so I mean, the overnight success doesn't really exist, right?
Well, I mean, I think we're in the internet age where you see all these stories of, so and so, he put a video on YouTube and boom, he got a whole
Yeah,
bunch of hits and now he's famous. But there's a lot of stories you see where, the YouTube phenoms were people that were been doing that for a long time. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So when their stuff hits, you have a big library of
yeah.
things for fans to see because they've kept doing it for years and
So
years. You know what I mean?
in reality, it's really not overnight success. So just
Yeah.
the boom or the
Yeah.
boost happened in overnight, but basically there's like 10 or 15 years
Right.
prior, a lot of
Right.
work and learning and just, hustle and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I'm really interested in the music industry. Yeah, I know it in Europe, right? But I would really like to get your point of view. How is the music industry in USA at the moment? Is it like a healthy industry? So it's good to be in it. It works. It's rolling, or is this like kind of struggling? In Europe, we had a lot of struggle in the late 90s and early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's a little
Yeah.
bit better. What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, I think it's changed a lot. I think it used to be, 20 years ago, all you'd have to do is, if you got to a certain level of musicianship, uh, if you found a gig with, to be even a medium level artist, you were pretty much set. There's not really too much you had left to do. I think now the name of the game is learning, being on the edge of what's happening, learning what the trends are, as far as the how the technologies is being incorporated to help like artists save money when they tour, that sort of
Yeah,
things. I think the people that are getting the work are the ones that are able to kind of seize upon what's happening and learn to do multiple things. Like it's not good enough now to just be I just play bongo. You know what I mean? You can't
yeah,
make a living
yeah.
being like you have to I play, I sing a little bit. I'm knowledgeable about music in a bunch of genres. I have some facility on the computer. I can run Ableton. I could run your tracks for you. Like it's
Yeah,
the people that can kind of take care of multiple jobs in one. Those are the people that I find getting more of the work,
yeah,
because there's not as much money to go around. So everybody's
100%.
looking for ways that they can, ways that they can save money. So if you can position yourself as one of those people that can help them, then you have work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah.
So over the years, what actually kept you motivated? I mean, I imagine the money is okay, but probably it's not like millions and millions, right? And although even money cannot really be a motivation, right, behind everything you do. So there's got to be some love for the music and so on. But what is the main motivation in your case? What really drives you for 30 years now?
Well, I think just because of, I think the era that I grew up in and stuff, the pursuit of the excellence is kind of what drives me as a player. I mean, like even on, gigs I've been doing for years and years, I'm actually still practicing in my head.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to say, can I do it a little bit better? Like, can I nail that more? And that drives me as a player on stage. Musically, I like the act of creating music on stage. Like I grew up with kind of a classical background, so I'm used to being on, stage with a whole bunch of people, listening across the stage, blending sounds to create something. And that drives me. And I mean, the cool thing now is I'm a family. I'm married. I have 4 children. So it's an interesting combination now. And I think this probably speaks to the majority of people that'll probably be watching this, which, I think I have a lot to think about, because to blend the two things together, to be able to use the thing that you love and to be able to provide for your family, doing that thing that takes it to a whole completely different level. And like, it wouldn't even matter who I was doing it for. I could be doing some music for Joe Blow down the street, but that would still be incredible. That still makes it incredible for me, because what I can turn that into is, supporting myself and my family. It's just kind of a beautiful mix.
Fantastic. So, I mean, on that note, you were kind of, I want to know what actually intrigued you to apply and become our endorser. What was the thing that you liked about the company or the product? Can you comment on that?
Yeah. And tell me if I talk too much. I've been waiting to talk to you. Well, I mean, in the last, since I've been touring so much, I had in San Francisco, I had a studio facility, installed and stuff in a building. It had a bunch of DJ producers and stuff. It was a really cool situation. There's about 15 guys. A guy named Miguel Miggs, real kind of well-known DJ. This guy named Fred Everything, another DJ from Canada, was my neighbor. And that's what I was doing, where I did my production and stuff. And when I started going on the road, I had to combine everything into something portable. And I went from, having my acoustic setup, my, speakers, my, nice desk and everything, to working with headphones in places all over the world. I've literally worked on music in about 70 different countries. I've worked on music on my laptop. So I had to convert my whole approach to how I did everything to something that I could, that was portable and I could use, headphones. So I've been mixing and producing in headphones for many, many years now. And it's been painful in a lot of ways. I've gone through different, I used to use the Sony headphones. Everybody used the 7506s. Great for tracking vocals in the studio, but for mixing, I can't stand them. And then I ended up using, if you can believe this, I used Beats studio headphones. I went through about 3 pair of them, and I didn't like how they sounded, but to get something that sounded half decent when I was listening to it in them meant that there was certain ranges of it that kind of worked, and I just kind of made myself used to that. What was basically saving me was using, there's a plugin by SonarWorks. It's a headphone reference. I mean, that basically was the only thing that was saving my life, was be able to try to flatten out the response a little bit. But then you're going through another plugin, you're cutting the volume down, you're doing other stuff. But so I'm on the Mixed Bus users group is where I saw your first ad, and I was very intrigued by what you were describing and what you were making. And
Fantastic.
so I was looking at it, watching the ads. I was like, man, this sure seems like something that would help me. But there's no place I could go, see one,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
So I start texting a couple of guys on the group and stuff. And then finally I'm talking to my wife and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. So I contacted you and
yeah.
you guys outfitted me with the Play to Me system. And I have to say, it definitely was an answer to a prayer.
Fantastic.
I think for a lot, because there's a lot of people that do what I do using what I use, laptop and headphones.
Yeah.
And I think this system is going to help a lot of people in a lot of ways. For one, I mean, you want me to go through the list?
Yeah, sure.
the,
Sure.
okay, start with the frequency response of the S4s. We can start there. All of a sudden, it seemed like somebody gave me an all new set of EQ plugins that actually worked in the mid range. I basically even think about touching an EQ and I can hear the difference. It's just a stark change from what I've had before. And the way the response is set up, they're easy to listen to. Like I could listen to them for hours, which I spend, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day listening on headphones, which can be not that safe for you.
Sure.
But with these headphones, the way the response is, which I'm still learning them, but you can listen to a much more comfortable response. The high end isn't all hyped out of the way. Like the high end isn't really hyped up, and you can program your ears to not be gravitating towards that type of sound, which is much better for your ears. They're comfortable to wear. I have an extremely large head, so I tend to break. I know my beats, I went through 3 sets of beats because I would break the headbands, just couldn't take the size of my head after a while. And these fit, I can put them on my kids, I can put them on myself, as far as that. And then you get into the full Play to Me system with the BSE pillow. That takes it to a whole nother planet. I was a little skeptical at first when I was reading. I was like, is this going to work? I don't know. But when I installed it and, kind of found the spot that I wanted to, put it in, amazing. It's basically a completely different set of information that's 100% usable and gives you some information that you wouldn't have any other way to have. And that's what the S4 headphones they're brilliant. The low frequency response is great on them. But when you add the pillow, it gives you another set of information that allows you to hear things in a way that you just wouldn't be able to hear them any other way. I know on the Braxton Brothers record, I unfortunately had to mix most of it before I had got in touch with you. But we have a song called "The Only Woman in the World," which is actually one that we featured in a video as our first single, the single that's actually on the radio right now. But we were having trouble with it because we had trouble in mastering. We couldn't get the volume level to match the other songs, and there was just a problem with it. And we determined it was in the low end, but we just couldn't figure out what was going on. So when I finally got a chance I got off the road, got my system set up, plugged the pillow in, and popped the song on. I listened to the other songs on the record, and then I put on the song that we were having trouble with. And it was Only Woman in the World. And we could hear immediately what the problem was. There was some stuff going on in the low end of the kick drum that was hanging over too far, but it was plain as day. I fixed the song it took me, I think, about 2 minutes and 15 seconds to address the problem, because it was just, you could hear it so much better. And the pillow's really great for hearing like dynamic things going on in the sub area. Like you can hear when you have kick drums that are tailing off too long. You can hear like when you have bass guitars, like, I play bass, and there's a thing that happens sometimes. A bass player will play a note and when he mutes the note or stops
Yeah.
the note with his fingers, it'll create a whole bunch of sub energy
Yeah.
that a lot of times you just can't hear.
You can't hear it. You can't hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just plain. It literally feels like somebody just tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, there's a problem in your low end."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
a big deal.
Just to maybe explain a little bit why that's important, because you mentioned the mastering part, right? So when you're trying to raise the levels a little bit higher, if you have too much low energy, taking the space out, you can't really push it without distortion or
Exactly.
destroying it, right? So that was basically the problem, if I understand you right.
Yeah, and it just we couldn't tell what it was, but it's so easy to hear what instruments the low frequency energy is distributed in when you have the pillow. I mean, it's hard to describe, but it's so easy to hear. It's amazing.
May I ask you? Do you feel like you're actually hearing that, or is this just like you feel it in your body and your brain maybe just interprets that information? Or, I mean,
see, that's the thing I was trying to. It was hard to describe. That's one thing with the videos and stuff. It's hard to describe. I mean, I think to me, it feels like somebody just basically adding another sense. Like you have sight, you have touch, you have hearing, you have BSE pillow. If that makes sense. So it's like a whole nother sense that tells you things that the headphones don't necessarily tell you, even though the headphones sound fantastic. But they just, it's hard to describe, but it doesn't take long to go, oh, okay, that's what's going on. And it's really great I would suggest anybody that gets it, find some reference material that you know really, really well, do nothing but sit down with it, because I noticed the reference things you can do with the pillow, it doesn't really matter. You can have the volume of the amp adjusted in a whole bunch of different ways. I was a little worried about, like, was it hard to figure out what level to adjust the amp? It doesn't really matter as long as you have a reference. It's all about just, finding some stuff you like and then put the pillow someplace that feels comfortable, and then go listen to what you're working on, and you'll hear the differences you need to hear immediately. Like it's bass guitars, kick drums, like if you're trying to separate them, combine them, move one low, move one high, that sort of stuff, so easy to hear with the pillow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe just another question about collaboration with companies. I mean, do you have any other endorsements active at the moment?
I work with Icon Pro Audio. They make my, I have a 24 channel control surface system set up that I got through them. That's wonderful. And I also work with a company that's built a desk for me. It's a custom desk that fits the control surface called D Christian Cabinetry. They're out of Southern California, out of Ontario. And my guitars, I have guitars built by Keisel. Guitars, they make all my basses. A couple other things.
So, I mean, how is this collaboration going? Or maybe just, your input or your thoughts on the importance of collaboration between the companies and the musicians, like in an endorsement and research development kind of way?
I mean, I think it's a great blend. I'm excited because I have a lot of things I've learned over the years, and it's exciting for me to be able to share those with people that can address those things and incorporate them into products and kind of go back and forth. It's really an exciting thing for me because, I have 27 years, 28 years. I have a lot to say now, and I have a lot of thoughts. And I mean, I'm hoping some of them can be useful to some people, but yeah, no, it's actually quite exciting. It's an exciting thing. Yeah. And one thing I throw in about basses and the BSE pillow.
Yeah.
Any bass players out there, tracking bass in headphones using the BSE pillow is really fun.
I've heard that one before. I have another endorser who's a bass player.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh my God, I can actually be in a control room and just enjoy playing it. Like, it's a different thing. I mean, I'm a drummer, so
Oh,
I
cool.
also really like understand the low kick and the feel that you
Yeah,
actually need in your body
yeah,
to kind of do it right. And I imagine as a bass player, that's really a nice thing to have as well.
yeah. It's amazing.
How about just like we're gonna have to wrap this up soon, but
Okay.
one more thing. What are your essentials in your backpack when you're on the road? What things do you the essential things that you take with you every time when you go on the road?
My headphones. My headphones. Yeah. No, it's my headphones.
Headphones
Like
probably and the laptop maybe or
headphones,
yeah
laptop.
yeah.
I use take a pad. I have a keyboard, a little mini keyboard I
Oh,
take
okay.
with me, and yes, literally can set up and get down anywhere, and I do. Yeah,
What about
yeah.
this a sound card? Are you using some external sound card to go with it or just
Yeah. I mean, I on the road I use an Apogee One, and I like the Apollo a lot. The
yeah
Universal Audio stuff is amazing.
yeah
So for the for the studio rig,
yeah
yeah. But I mean, I've done recordings using anything. I've recorded tracks using the mic on my Mac and put some effects on them.
yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So just to wrap this up, what is the future for you? I mean, where are you headed? Do you have like some dreams that you want to accomplish in the next years? Where is this
Um,
going to take you?
Well, I want to be doing, making more records. Obviously with the Braxton brothers and touring that some more, and also developing more. I have a website called songfinishers.com,
Yeah,
and that's kind of the parent organization that I do my production through, which is pretty much anytime I'm not on the road, that's what I'm doing, and that's been a really fulfilling thing to do. I mean, I basically kind of set it up for people that, a lot of times don't have access to a lot of the music, people that are inspired and have musical ideas, but don't
yeah,
necessarily know how to turn them into something.
yeah.
And talking about a fulfilling thing to be able to, have somebody send you a PDF with some lyrics and be able to
Yeah,
send them back a full song. Oh, it's
fantastic,
amazing. Yeah.
fantastic. So you probably work with people from like all over the world, right? You're not like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's cool because I can give them access to some of the people that I work with, you know what I mean? Or, have their music, played on, like,
yeah.
wow, that was, the drummer from the Jacksons played on my song. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's like, it's really
Fantastic.
fulfilling. Yeah.
So, I mean, this kind of takes us to the beginning of this conversation when you said that people are like super important in this industry, who you know, who you work with. And
Yeah.
so to wrap this up, right? So how can you, like, if you're a producer or whatever you are, how can you start spreading this circle of people that you know and you can trust and how do you actually do it? How do you approach? I mean, many times, even for myself, when I started the company 2 years ago and I was trying to approach some of big names in the industry, I really wasn't sure how to, or I mean, what's going to happen next, and all this fear coming in, right? I think
Yeah.
that's common for a lot of guys, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at some point
Well,
you got to do something and just move on. I'm
yeah.
really curious at how you actually started and maybe what would be your advice.
I mean, I guess it makes me think of something I was talking about earlier. I was a bass player is how I started, you know what I mean? So I was playing bass all the time, and I'm thinking like what I would tell somebody, these days now, if you're a producer, you need to spend X number of hours every day
Yeah.
producing, whether you have a gig that's paid or whether you don't. You need to
True.
keep producing. You know what I mean? If you want to be somebody that, makes and completes records, you have to make and complete some records. Today you can do it for, $20. You can put a single out on using TuneCore or CD Baby or something. So there's no reason monetarily to not do it, because what's going to happen is there's going to be the day that you're going to have the chance to talk with somebody or meet somebody, or your opportunity is going to come up one day and you never know when that's going to be. But what you're going to have in place is, your production techniques, you have to be ready. You have to have a body of work. You have to be able to show that you can complete projects. And that's when all your work is going to pay off. And you never know when that day is going to be, but you always have to be ready. Um, so I would say, keep producing, and you have to get out there. You have to find where there's other people producing, get out of the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go where there's, vocalists, like go where there's people singing, go where there's, events, whatever you can. But in the daytime, you have to keep working on your craft every day. Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there like, in Europe, it's pretty good to be in London if you're in the music industry, or in Berlin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, is this kind of the same in the US? Are there like hotspots where it's a bit easier, or maybe?
Well, I mean, there's fewer of them than there used to be. I mean, now in the US, I mean, you're really talking, LA and Nashville pretty much, and you got, Atlanta, New York. But I mean, I would tell, somebody, if they had the ability to move to a town where there's more business, I would do that. Definitely. Especially young people, I would definitely say do that. And another thing I would say is, get your other skills together too. So you can be a producer that knows a little bit of C+ programming, or you can be that, singer that does a little bit of, what I mean? You want to also work on that extra thing to give you an edge above, because there's a lot of talented people out there. There's a lot of them. It's amazing. But yeah, you want to also have that other thing that gives you a little bit of edge, over everybody else.
So I think I've talked to a few other endorsers before you, and there was a theme going on, like the knowledge in the industry, right? So one part of the knowledge is the technical skills and the love for the music and so on, the musicality, and the other part is just pure business knowledge, because music industry is, I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta survive somehow. You gotta pay the bills, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's one part of the music industry that we don't talk enough about, and I think many young kids go into the business from the passion side, right? But not really realizing that it's not just practicing and skills and the gear and things like that, but that actually you gotta develop as a person, as a business person at some point, and move forward. I mean.
Yeah, and other thing I want to add to that, you also have to develop just as a person, because I was having a talk with he's a producer, used to be part of Max Martin's crew and stuff. I won't name him, but he was, he's worked with some, huge artists. And I was interested, I was talking with him, and, a lot of his conversation had to do with the fact that 80% of his time when working on the record was spent not working on the record. It was spent just, doing life things with the artist. And I think a lot of producers that I see that end up, being successful, when you go talk to them, they're interesting people just as a person, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always would tell people to also, when you're working on your craft and stuff, don't forget to round yourself as a person. Get out, do some exercise, read, do some other things that you love, because that's gonna connect you with people even more. And a lot of the business aspect is really just people connecting with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're on the road, you're spending long hours and stuff, that's really going to affect your time. And if you get called back, is basically their experience dealing with you as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Braxton Brothers CD is now, it's available, right? So you can.
It is available.
It's available. So
shameless plug right there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it's on the radio, nationally, internationally. It's on
iTunes and stuff.
Billboard station, iTunes, Amazon, Google, CD Baby, Spotify.
Yeah.
Whatever. Pick the poison.
We'll put all the links everywhere. So.
Cool.
Yeah, and thank you very much for this conversation. Also, thank you very much for including our headphones, the one I'm wearing right now, actually, into your video, right? The only woman.
Yeah. First scene, yeah.
Scene is it's an opening scene with our headphones. So
Yeah,
thank you very much for that.
no problem.
It was really a pleasure to see something like that going on, and all the love and support that you give to OLLO. That's incredible.
Cool.
Thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. So we are a startup. We are really fighting this with the big companies, and it's going to be a long journey. We are going to persist, you know. So and you know, guys like you are like super important on this journey. So really,
Cool.
thank you.
Oh yeah, well thank you. Keep doing what you do. You've changed my life with what I do. So I know you guys can be successful.
Thank you. All right. This was it, guys. So
Okay.
Nelson, thank you again. I hope we can do this one more time. So
Okay, yeah, anytime.
Great. If anybody has any questions, so this will be on a podcast, on Facebook, on YouTube, and all the places out there. If you have any questions for me or for the company, no problems. If you have any questions for Nelson, I can sure forward it to him, or you can find him on Facebook and Instagram and so on. Once again, Nelson, thank you very much, and
Cool.
we are signing off.
Cool. All right, thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.